Um, Although the view is not evidence, I suggest to you that you will find it to be helpful, important, even necessary as you later do your investigation of this case within the four walls of this courtroom. We've already received into evidence, some photos and videos, but there is no substitute for your own two eyes. As we all know, photos and videos sometimes can be misleading in terms of relative distances, depending upon the perspective from which the photo is taken. But your eyes are the best computer that you could bring to the view.
Hi, Crime Junkie Jurors. We just wrapped up day 4, April 25th, 2025. Now, today was a half day, and it started off with a jury view. Now, this is where the jurors got to go. They went on a bus to 34 Fairview. They looked at the yard and Karen's SUV because it was parked out there. Now, before they went, each side got to tell the jurors what they wanted them to focus on or pay attention to. So the prosecution asked the jurors to pay attention to the street and to the front yard. And Brennan asked them to note the berm by the road. Also, Brennan said for them to make a note of the height of the bumper and the taillight and the part of the car that protrudes up top. Now, the defense wanted the jurors to pay attention to the second floor window on the house and how close it is to the yard. Now, I assume that this is because, they've brought up before that Brian Albert and Nicole Albert never came outside when they heard what was happening, or that they didn't hear what was happening. So I think that they wanted the jurors to see how close that window is to where all of the commotion was. Now, the defense also wanted the jurors to note the distance to the front doors and to the driveway, and also to take note of there being multiple front doors and where they were. Now, the judge instructed the jury that the purpose of this is to kind of help them better understand the area and see the car in person, and that they will use this when making their conclusions. Now, there were also 2 witnesses that we had today. The first was Dr. Gary Faller. Now, Dr. Faller worked in the lab at Good Samaritan Hospital, and he testified about the blood draw that they did on Karen Reed when she was brought in, and also how they tested it for alcohol, which resulted in a reading of 93 milligrams per deciliter. Now, to convert that to blood alcohol level, you just divide by 1,000. So that means that the blood alcohol level would have been 0.093%. Now, for reference, in Massachusetts, the max legal level for driving is 0.08%. So during this part, there was a lot of testimony that was really technical, and it could be kind of boring, but I wanted to kind of give you just the main idea of it all. There are 2 ways that they mentioned to test the alcohol levels in blood. One way is whole blood tests, and the other is plasma or serum tests, and the results of each are not the same. Now, whole blood test is just like it sounds. It's the whole sample of your blood exactly as it is when the sample is taken. Plasma and serum tests are different, though. For those, the blood sample tube is put into a device that spins it for about 6 minutes, which actually separates the blood cells and the plasma. So picture like oil and vinegar dressing, how the oil floats to the top of the vinegar. It's kind of like that. And the part that they test is the part on top. So the forensic labs use the whole blood testing, and the hospital uses the serum test. But the defense wanted to make the point to the juror that the serum test, which is what the hospital used, give higher or more elevated results than the whole blood test. And it's the whole blood test that are used in forensic labs. So those are the ones that they use usually for court. Now, basically, the defense wants the jury to know that the way that the hospital did the testing may make it look like Karen was more intoxicated than she really was. Now, the other witness called today was Jason Becker from Canton Fire Department. Becker was working with Dan Whitley, who we heard from yesterday and Wednesday. Now, they responded to 34 Fairview for the Section 12 for Karen when she made comments about possibly wanting to end her own life if John died. Now, Becker gave his recollection of what happened. Karen was upset. Her tone was rapid and repetitive at times, and she had blood on her face and neck, which he believed was from her trying to give John mouth to mouth. Now, Becker also heard Karen say something about being upset the last time she talked to John and there being some kind of argument. And her last words to him were angry or something to that effect. Now, both sides went back and forth about this a lot, wanting to nail down the exact words that were said and what they potentially meant. And here's why. The prosecution's theory is that Karen and John were in an argument in the car, and that's why she hit him. The defense's theory is that they didn't get into an argument in the car. It wasn't until after John got out of the car and then didn't come back to the car that Karen actually got mad and she left, and then she called and left him angry voicemails. So the prosecution wants this last argument that Becker referenced to be an in-person argument. So Brennan put all of the focus on the word argument. The defense wants this last argument to have been the texts and voicemails. So Jackson put all of the focus on the phrase last words. So they kind of went back and forth and it got really long, but I think that's kind of where they're going with that. Now, here's my takeaways from today. First, I think it's clear that both sides are going to spend a lot of time focusing on very specific details and really battling it out over what those little details may mean. And my other big takeaway from today, the jury view was crucial to understanding the theories of what happened and whether or not they might be plausible. The yard at Fairview is way smaller than it looks in pictures. So check out today's live stream on Crime Junkie Jury. It's around 4 hours and 12 minutes in. We showed the footage from the jury view, and it really gives some perspective to how small that yard really is. And it gave us some great insight into what the jury saw. And we got to see Karen's car, including a close-up video of the damage. So let me know in comments if that changed your mind on anything, or if it made you question anything, or what you thought about it. I want to hear what y'all have to say. So week 1 is a wrap. Let me know what stood out to you the most this week. What were your highlights from week 1? And is there anything that you want to rewatch over the weekend? Let me know. Now that's it for now, but we will be back Monday live at 9 a.m. Eastern. So come watch with us, chat with all the other Crime Junkie jurors, and we'll see what next week brings. So enjoy the weekend, and I will see y'all for jury duty on Monday.